captain attacked Barron Trump and secret GF on a cruise liner, but what followed shocked all. On a calm evening, far out in the open sea, something terrifying happened aboard a luxurious cruise liner. The kind of event you'd expect to see in a movie, not in real life. It all started when Captain Matthews, a seasoned officer with a perfect record, suddenly lashed out at none other than Barron Trump and his secret girlfriend, someone nobody knew he was even involved with. At first glance, it seemed like just another night at sea, with a glimmer of moonlight reflecting off the vast ocean and the sound of waves gently hitting the hull. Passengers were laughing, enjoying dinner, or taking photos of the incredible views. But no one knew that beneath the smooth surface of this glamorous voyage, dark tensions were bubbling up. Tensions that would erupt in a violent, shocking altercation. Barron, looking unusually tense, had been quietly walking along the deck with his girlfriend, a young woman he kept under wraps for most of the trip. Only a few close friends and crew members knew who she was. They moved as discreetly as possible, hoping to avoid drawing attention to themselves. After all, privacy is a luxury when you're the child of such a prominent family. But their calm walk was shattered in an instant. Captain Matthews, who had been navigating the ship with an almost robotic precision, suddenly approached them. His expression was cold, almost as if he was on a mission, an unspoken one. Without warning, he shoved Barron to the ground, sending him sprawling on the cold deck. His girlfriend screamed in horror, her eyes wide with shock, as the scene around them froze. No one moved, no one spoke. The captain's behavior was uncharacteristic, even for someone who had faced intense pressure in the past. It seemed like an act of pure aggression, but why? What would drive someone, especially a figure of authority like a captain, to attack a young man like Barron Trump and his companion on a public cruise, surrounded by hundreds of people? As chaos unfolded, passengers who witnessed the event scrambled for their phones to record the scene, unsure of what was happening or what they should do. Meanwhile, crew members rushed to the scene, attempting to intervene and pulled Captain Matthews away from Barron. But even as they pulled him back, it became clear this wasn't the end. The shock of what happened next would leave everyone speechless. The tension between Barron and the captain wasn't something anyone could have expected. But there was a deeper, more sinister reason why Matthews had done what he did, something darker than anyone could have imagined. And just as the situation seemed to calm down, the ship was rocked by a mysterious event that none of the passengers could explain. The truth about what led up to this horrifying confrontation and what followed would not only stun the people aboard the ship, but also reveal a web of secrets that stretched far beyond the ocean's edge. The captain's attack wasn't random, it was only the beginning. What followed next, no one could have predicted. Something about this ship, something about the people involved, and something about Barron Trump's secret girlfriend would unravel in the most unexpected and dangerous way possible. But before we dive into the details of the aftermath, let's pause for a moment. Why did Captain Matthews go after Barron in the first place? What was so urgent, so terrifying, that the captain would risk everything? The story doesn't end here. Stay tuned, because the truth is about to come out. And when it does, nothing will ever be the same. The days leading up to the confrontation had been filled with quiet tension, almost as if the ship itself was carrying an unspoken secret. It wasn't just the breathtaking views or the extravagant dining experiences that caught people's attention. It was the strange sense that something was off. The luxury liner, a state-of-the-art vessel designed for elite guests, had been navigating the open seas for days, but the crew, especially Captain Matthews, seemed a little too preoccupied. Barron Trump and his secret girlfriend had taken full advantage of the privacy the cruise provided, using the isolated nature of the ship as a way to escape from the public eye. Barron, a young man who had spent much of his life in the spotlight, had always been guarded. His relationship with the woman he'd brought on board was even more so. Few knew her name, and even fewer understood why they were so intent on keeping their connection a secret. She wasn't part of the social circles Barron had been involved with before, and perhaps that was part of the appeal. She represented a break from the constant scrutiny that came with being a Trump. But it wasn't just Barron's desire for privacy that was drawing suspicion. The captain, Captain Matthews, had started acting strangely. He wasn't the same steady, calm leader everyone had trusted to keep the voyage running smoothly. Crew members noticed that he had been making odd requests, secretive meetings in the captain's quarters, unusual orders for extra security around certain parts of the ship, and an almost obsessive need to control certain areas of the liner. It was enough to make those around him uneasy, but no one dared question the man who held the lives of hundreds in his hands. As the days wore on, tensions continued to simmer. The captain became more unpredictable, his mood shifting between extreme calm and violent outbursts. His interactions with Barron were especially strange. There were moments when Matthews would look at Barron with a cold, calculating gaze, a look that sent chills down the young man's spine. No one could understand why Matthews was so fixated on Barron. Some thought it was just an odd coincidence, but others wondered if something deeper was at play, something no one could yet comprehend. Meanwhile, Barron's secret girlfriend had been growing increasingly anxious. She sensed something wasn't right. She had heard whispers among the crew, seen the strange way the captain looked at Barron, and felt the weight of something ominous hanging over them. Despite her instincts, Barron seemed determined to enjoy their time on the ship, believing the crews would provide the perfect escape. But the cracks in their calm facade were starting to show. By the time the night of the attack came, the tension had reached a boiling point. Barron and his girlfriend were walking along the deck when they encountered Captain Matthews. What started as a casual interaction quickly turned hostile. The captain's cold demeanor escalated into a physical confrontation, catching everyone around them off guard. As Barron was thrown to the ground, his girlfriend screamed, desperate for someone to intervene. The ship's crew rushed to the scene, but there was no explanation for the captain's actions. As Matthews was pulled away, he muttered something under his breath, something that sounded like a warning, but no one could make sense of it. "You don't understand. You never will." His words were laced with bitterness, but there was something else, something darker. Was he trying to protect Barron, or was he hiding something far more dangerous? The scene was chaotic, with guests murmuring in disbelief, unsure of what had just happened. But the truth was far from simple. The altercation was the surface of a much deeper, more complex conflict. Matthews' obsession with Barron was no accident. It all tied back to something hidden within the very heart of the ship. A secret that had been buried for years, kept under wraps by those who didn't want anyone to know. But what was that secret? Why had Matthews suddenly snapped, and what was the connection between him and Barron Trump? The answers lay in the tangled history of the cruise liner, in the corridors and cabins that passengers never saw, in the stories whispered in the dark, long before Barron and his girlfriend boarded the ship. As the night grew darker, the truth began to unfold in strange, unexplainable ways. The crew, unsettled by the captain's actions, started whispering to each other, but no one could understand what was really going on. The more they tried to investigate, the more strange things began to happen. Doors that wouldn't open, messages left in places they shouldn't have been, and strange figures that seemed to be watching them from the shadows. It was as if the ship itself was holding its breath, waiting for something. As Barron and his girlfriend retreated to their cabin to process what had just happened, a new layer of mystery began to unfold. Their safe haven was no longer so safe, and they were about to learn that there was more at stake than just their privacy. The secret Matthews had been hiding was about to be revealed, and when it was, the entire ship would be plunged into chaos. Everything was connected: the captain, Barron, his girlfriend, and the haunting history of the ship. The pieces of the puzzle were finally starting to fall into place. But just as they thought they might uncover the truth, the most shocking twist was about to rock the entire voyage. Nothing would ever be the same again. As Barron and his girlfriend tried to make sense of what had just transpired, the sense of unease only deepened. They couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched, that something or someone was lurking just beyond their reach. The cabin, once a place of refuge, now felt like a prison. Barron's mind raced, wondering what Matthews had meant with his cryptic words. "You don't understand. You never will." What was he talking about? What secret was the captain hiding, and why did it seem so personal? Before they could get too lost in their thoughts, there was a knock at the door. Barron hesitated, but eventually opened it to reveal a nervous-looking crew member, his face pale. The man quickly explained that the captain had disappeared. No one had seen him since the altercation, and a strange, unsettling energy had taken over the ship. Crew members were on edge, and rumors were circulating about what Matthews had been involved in before he became the captain. The entire atmosphere of the cruise had shifted from one of luxury and relaxation to one of suspicion and fear. Something was happening on the ship, and Barron and his girlfriend were now caught in the middle of it. The unsettling incidents from the past few days, the strange messages, the unexplainable figures lurking in the hallways, were all starting to make sense. The captain hadn't just been acting out of character. He had been protecting a much larger secret, one tied to the ship itself. The deeper Barron dug into the captain's history, the more he uncovered. It turned out that Matthews had once been a part of a covert government operation that had ties to the ship, an operation that had gone wrong, leaving behind a trail of destruction and cover-ups. The ship had been built on a foundation of lies, its true purpose hidden beneath layers of carefully crafted lies. Barron couldn't believe what he was reading. The cruise liner, a symbol of wealth and luxury, was connected to a dark past that no one could have imagined. As Barron and his girlfriend scrambled to piece together the truth, the situation on board became more chaotic. Passengers were getting restless, demanding answers. Some began to panic, convinced that something terrible was about to happen. It was clear that the ship wasn't just a vessel for relaxation. It was a ticking time bomb, its secrets about to explode. Then, just as the tension reached its peak, the ship was struck by an enormous force. It wasn't an accident. It wasn't a natural disaster. It was a deliberate attack. The lights flickered, the ground shook, and a loud, thunderous crash echoed through the ship. People screamed in panic as the ship began to list dangerously to one side. Barron's heart raced as he realized the attack was no random act of terror. It was orchestrated by those who had been hiding in plain sight, and Matthews had known about it all along. In the chaos that followed, Barron, his girlfriend, and a handful of other passengers managed to find their way to the lifeboats. But just before they could escape, a figure emerged from the shadows. Captain Matthews, bloodied but alive. His eyes were wild, filled with a mixture of rage and desperation. With his last breath, Matthews revealed the final piece of the puzzle. The ship, the operation, and the attack were all part of a massive conspiracy involving powerful figures who had been manipulating events for years. The captain's role had been to protect the truth, but in doing so, he had condemned everyone aboard to a fate they couldn't escape. As Matthews collapsed, Barron realized that the cruise ship wasn't just a symbol of wealth and luxury. It was a prison, and they had all been caught in its web. The truth had been hidden in plain sight, buried beneath layers of deception. And now, with the ship sinking and chaos consuming everything around them, Barron had no choice but to escape with his life, leaving behind the shattered remnants of a story that would never be fully understood. In the days that followed, the world would learn of the attack, of the conspiracy, and of the terrifying events aboard the cruise liner. But Barron and his girlfriend would remain silent, forever marked by the experience, never fully able to comprehend the scope of what they had lived through. The ship had sunk, but the secrets it carried would never be forgotten. As the world moved on, those who had been aboard that ill-fated voyage would carry the cruise ship had sailed into history, but the truth it carried would never be fully revealed. For some, it would remain a story of luxury and betrayal. For others, it would be a reminder that sometimes the darkest secrets are hidden in the most unexpected places. And as for Barron, he would never look at a cruise ship the same way again. The ocean, once a place of escape, had become a reminder of the fragility of everything they thought they knew, weight of what they had witnessed, and the questions left unanswered would linger in the minds of many, leaving a legacy of mystery and uncertainty in their wake.